Hello and welcome back to the Preppy Podcast. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you today. We have another holiday themed episode. I am talking with my good friend Leslie Lehr of Leslie Lehr Living. I have known Leslie for many years and she is truly a ray of Arizona sunshine. I just have the best time chatting with her and I think you guys will really enjoy this conversation. She is a style expert, lifestyle expert, as well as has an organizing business, and is just so fabulous. We had a great chat about how and why she started her organizing business, how that then flourished into her being a lifestyle expert, and even getting on some TV segments. We also chat a lot about the preppy lifestyle. Leslie is a fellow prepster, so you're definitely going to enjoy this conversation. And let me know when you listen to the episode, you'll hear us talk a little bit about dollhouses. That's something I really want to do for 2026 is decorate one. And Leslie has a fabulous one that we will be sure to share on social media when this episode comes out. But before we get into that episode, I want to remind you guys, lots of fun things are on the horizon for the Preppy Podcast in 2026. The first being we have 2 Camp Preppies already planned. The first one is in February in Dallas, and that one is Valentine's Day themed. I've talked a lot about it on past episodes. And then last week I did a little sneak peek that our next one will be April 7th through 10th, and that's in the Hamptons. It's at the beautiful boutique hotel Canoe Place. I think this one is going to be so much fun. It's perfect because it's right before the busy season of the Hamptons. And for this one, it's a very much, let's think like Nancy Meyers, Coastal Grandmother, blue and white, Hamptons vibes. I will have more details about some of the brands and activities for that, but I wanted to share that the tickets are at thepreppypodcast.com. You can just search Camp Preppy in the search bar and you will see those Camp Preppy tickets. They make a great gift for the holiday season, or honestly just a great treat yourself to kick off 2026. You do not have to be a business owner. There's no certain age group. It is open to everyone who enjoys a preppy lifestyle, wants to make new friends, and indulge in some preppy hobbies and activities. So without further ado, though, let's get into this week's episode with Leslie. All right. So why don't you first let everyone know who you are, where you live, and what you do?
My name's Leslie Lehr. I'm a lifestyle expert. I'm based in Phoenix, Arizona. However, I've lived on both coasts. So for the past, 11 years, I've lived here in Phoenix. And I am lifestyle, entertaining, and decor expert with timeless style. And I'm known for my passion for mixing a clutter-free space or table or style with timeless classics, allowing you to live life beautifully but without the hassle. So my motto is living your best life with less.
I love that. And Leslie, I've known for a few years, and she's just a ray of sunshine. I always have the best time chatting with her. And I feel like you're known for blue and white too. And recently I found out you grew up very preppy. So I can't wait to dive in today with you on the podcast.
Is it obvious that I love blue and white? It's definitely a part of my, yes, it's one of my signatures is that I love blue and white. You'll see a pop of blue in anything I do, whether it be fashion, decor, or entertaining. And I just think that's a part of just that timeless preppy style. And it definitely just helped in my journey, making me stand out a little bit. Like, look for the girl in the blue and white.
Yes.
And that's my signature.
For sure. I feel the same way about like pink. I always try to wear some touch of pink whenever I'm at events or anything like that. But tell me a little bit about your childhood. I know like you personally, so we've chatted about some fun things from you growing up, and I would love to have you share a little bit of your childhood with everyone listening today.
Absolutely. So I originally am from the East Coast,
Mhm.
Connecticut, Massachusetts, a short time in Bryn Mawr, due to my father being an executive with a corporation. So we've lived on the East Coast, and then I went to high school in the Bay Area.
Mhm.
And I do feel like my experience being in different parts of the country definitely have lent that to my style and just my what I'm drawn to.
Yeah.
And specifically though, when it comes to my younger childhood, my family is just very classic preppy. I mean, I
Mhm.
grew up on the preppy handbook. It's so funny. I had friends over last night, and we both have the same experience. Like we would refer to the preppy handbook as like our guide. Oh my goodness, what kind of dog are we going to get? Well, it has to be a dog in the preppy handbook. Like that was totally our guide. And really, what it meant is timeless style. And
Yeah.
now we have influencers and stylists that really have created a whole, line that you
Mhm.
can relate to. But before that, it really was Ralph Lauren and the Preppy Handbook.
Mhm.
And I'm an only child, just like you.
Yes.
And listening to your podcast, I'm fascinated how many only children there are
Right?
that are entrepreneurs, kind of in
Mhm.
this niche. And my parents have always been into design, renovating. I mean,
Yeah.
before the HGTV shows, my parents were buying historical homes and renovating them. They were in, magazines. And before this was even a trend, it was more of my parents wanted to buy a nice house, but in order to get to the end, to that beauty, they had to really find something that was a hidden gem and roll up their sleeves. And I was fortunate to be a part of that and
Mhm.
learn about antiques and looking at fabrics, selecting. When I had a new bedroom, I would always go to Laura Ashley, and I had the chance to pick out my own like color palette. And so that was my entry, is the fact that I have some of the best in that area as my parents that I learned from, and that kind of trickled down with entertaining. But what really kind of clicked at a younger age for me is that for Christmas, my dad made a dollhouse for me, and it was a replica
Oh.
of our house in Bryn Mawr. And
Oh, wow.
it was, cream with blue shutters of all
Mhm.
things. A cup. We still have it at my parents' house in Atlanta, my
Oh.
doll. And I spent hours not really playing with the dolls, but
Mhm.
decorating my dollhouse.
Yeah.
Relocating furniture. I would
Yeah.
make curtains. I would create faux centerpieces out of like little mini silk flowers. And I just was fascinated by how, at a young age, how space
Mhm.
made you feel
Mm.
energized and just
Yes.
happy. And that led into even rearranging my bedroom furniture, and waking up in the morning and having that sense of, oh my goodness, just by moving my furniture it allowed for more space, and it just brought me so much joy
Yeah.
that it just has always been a part of my
Your DNA, like your draw, right? Yeah.
exactly. And so that's kind of how the passion sparked.
Yeah.
It's always been with me. My friends, I cherish my relationships with my family, my friends, and I've been blessed that I'm still so close to, so many of these amazing people. But I didn't realize I was different in
Mhm.
like appreciating how my parents placed accessories on an entry table, and
Mhm.
wanting to preserve that, not
Yes.
being the kid who would throw my school bag in the entryway. Like I had a specific place where I would put it. And now we know it as a little bit of an obsession. Uh, but I didn't realize that that's not, I'd go to my friend's house and everyone lived differently and I had no judgment, but
Yeah.
I, my space was always very, tidy, and I,
Yep.
and I wanted it filled with things that I loved.
Yes. And treat it sacredly, right? Like it's a special place. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. And it wasn't until I went to college, and, we're only children.
Yeah.
So we've not lived with, I mean, I went to camp. I went to, my story. I mean, I'm one
Yes.
of those, I went to an all girls camp for 11 years. I'm a total camper. And I lived in a bunk with 10 girls.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't clean. And that didn't bother me. I still made my bed every day. And then my best friend Annie may not have made her bed. And
Yeah.
I never had judgment. But when you go to college and you're a young adult, and of course, a couple of things that some of to this day, some of my best friends who were, I don't know if it was a blessing or negative, that they were stuck with me as their roommate. I called one of them. We were assigned as roommates, and she tells the story so much better. I'm so excited. I'm Leslie, and we're going to be roommates. We're going to be best friends forever. And my mom's going to pick up matching Laura Ashley comforters. What's your favorite color? And my friend Shelly is like, who is this person? What do you mean matching comforters? And this is the 80s. So this is
Yeah.
before, now there's whole businesses around decorating a
Yeah.
door. But
Yes.
30 plus years ago, that wasn't. And I quickly learned when I moved to college that, like, I woke up, I made my bed, I had, my little picture cork board, like, strategically placed with all of the things that I loved. And I had roommates that did not follow that same kind of trend.
Yeah.
And so quickly my nickname was Tidy. And I learned then through that, like, oh my goodness, I am different and I don't like clutter and mess. And it really,
Yes.
like, mentally, it impacts me. And, that's when I learned that I have a little bit of an obsession about keeping things the way they are.
Yeah.
It wasn't until years later when I launched my business that I finally was able to realize that it's a passion and
Hmm.
it wasn't negative. But,
Yeah.
for some time I realized, like, oh my goodness, I mean, no, not everyone is, cleaning their.
No, I grew up the same way. Like when I would get home from school, we had this basket by the door, and that's where I put my book bag and like my shoes or like any loose papers and folders, and I was supposed to put them there. And yeah, no, I grew up the same way. I love how you mentioned your dollhouse because I feel like hobbies are trending right now, and specifically like needlepoint and mahjong, but I keep getting served dollhouse building too. And I told my friends, Amanda, I'm like 2026, we're going to make dollhouses, we're going to decorate them. Like I just am obsessed with dollhouses on Instagram and TikTok, like the tiny details and stuff.
Oh, it's so okay. So we'll have to collaborate because
Yes.
I'm going back for the Christmas to Atlanta. And so my parents have a room that's now called my daughter Brooke. It's
Hmm.
Brooke's room, but it's
Hmm.
filled with like my old furniture, and then my dollhouse is there. And I still, as a adult and a mother of a college student, still go and check on my dollhouse, because if a child comes to my house, my parents' house, for
Yeah.
sure they're going to go upstairs and play. So I have to make sure everything's okay. And I have been thinking about, like, my dollhouse needs a renovation. It needs to be
Oh,
completely redecorated.
yes.
It's renovation. And I have a friend with an organization I'm a part of, and her daughter actually during COVID has started creating, decorating these dollhouses, and then
Yeah.
he makes them for charities at a,
Yes.
and then they go to auction, and they're
Yeah.
making a lot of money. So this is a thing that you and I need to talk about
Yes,
separately.
yes, we totally will. So, backing up a little, when you went to college, where and what did you study?
Okay, so I went so at the end of eighth grade,
Mhm.
my family was relocated to the Bay Area in Palo Alto.
Yeah.
And so I finished high school. I went to high school in Palo Alto. And
Okay.
then I went to University of Arizona, and I studied communications. So my plan was media and communications, maybe
Okay.
doing hosting or PR.
Yes.
And I have a gift of communicating, so I loved it. But when it was getting time to graduate, my mom um, put together a spreadsheet on what it costs to be. My maiden name is Vincent. What it costs to be Leslie Vincent, and he's like, you need to know like what it costs to live on your own. Like you're going to graduate and you need to live on your own
Yeah.
and find a job that's going to help you pay. And that's when I realized, as much as my passion would have been, going to a PR firm and maybe doing that kind of intern, I was only going to be able to do that if I moved back with my parents, which of
Mhm.
course I love, but at the time they lived in Chicago,
Okay.
and it would have been like me completely, starting over. Now I
Mhm.
could live with my parents. However, I wanted to still continue college, like graduate, but still be with all my college buddies. So,
Yeah.
which is what I did. I moved to Scottsdale with my, all my sorority sisters and my college buddies, and realized I needed a job that I could really pay for, and that really got me more into technology and sales,
Okay.
which I love doing.
Yeah.
And I had my ability to, apply my creative passion in fashion and in my apartment and then, home.
Yeah.
And did that up until, I mean, because I moved back
Mhm.
to Scottsdale. My husband, who I knew through college but didn't date in college, we then, were in the same circles, and finally he asked me out, and then and then he's in a big corporation. And so, once we got married, I kind of followed in my parents' footsteps of relocating between Dallas and Arizona
Okay.
for his business, and had a successful career in technology.
Yeah.
And until when it was really time for me to become the CEO of the Lehr household, when Brooke was probably about kindergarten, and
Okay.
she really wanted, she asked me if I would be, her babysitter. Like, why can't you be the babysitter? And so
Uh-huh.
it was definitely a wake up call that it's time for me to take a little pause
Uh-huh.
from corporate life. I um, I was scared. I
Mhm.
think in talking to other guests on your podcast, I
Yeah.
see a lot of similarities with the entrepreneurs in our kind of creative space, where they really came from a completely different industry when they launched their
Yes.
creative business. And I think there's a gift in that, because it allowed me to really have more of a business mind and
Mhm.
learn the necessary skills to start a business.
Yeah.
Learning, you gotta have a couple fails before you get a win, and how to
Yeah.
communicate, put together a project plan. And so I was the CEO of Lair Household, and
I love how you call it that, CEO of Lehr household. I'm going to use that even though I don't have kids. I'm just going to say I'm CEO of the Olsen household with Marty and Miles and Will.
exactly. Well, because Todd, my husband, still travels so much. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot. I mean, my I have such compassion for all of my super women who
Mhm.
are working, whether it be working from the home, at home, raising kids, being involved in your community, being involved in nonprofit, being the classroom mom, running the PTA.
Huh.
It's a lot.
Yes.
And I was so fortunate to do that. And it wasn't, we moved from there, from Dallas back to Phoenix.
Mhm.
And I could see, Brooke was getting older. She was a competitive soccer player, very involved in school. And I could see, as as she was approaching her teenage years, like, she's not going to need me to be driving all the time. And
Yes.
as much as I love and I'm still involved with several charities, I realized I needed more in
Hmm.
my life to be the
Yes.
best I could be for my family. I
Yeah.
just need
You need your own thing and your own outlet, which I feel like so many women relate to and kind of starts their business. So,
exactly.
yeah.
So Todd was traveling. I put together my resume, and I'm still on LinkedIn, and I was reaching out to old coworkers,
Hmm.
and Todd came home, and I was like, guess what? I think it's time for me to go back to work.
Yeah.
I think it's time. I'm going to go back to work. I've already got my resume circulating. But the only caveat is I don't think it's going to be full time because, I still want to pick Brooke up from school and do all these other things. And I still want to be involved in this board and that board. And Todd was like, Leslie, what you're looking for, he's laughing. I mean, you've known stories about my husband. He's
Yes. Yeah.
supportive and he's got a great sense of humor. And he's like, so you think just like all the women in your age group that have had careers and then only want to pick and choose their hours, like that you're a unique individual wanting this. He's like, do you know all the like? There's a lot of people out there who want that. He
Yeah.
said, but I really think you need to start your own business.
Mm.
I was like, wait, what? Start my own business? Oh, I don't. And what am I going to do? What
Yeah.
would my skill be? And he said, look around this house. You could help people organize and style. And I was like, but who would ever pay me to do that? To do this. Now, this is before the home edit. This is
Okay.
before the Spark Joy
Hmm.
whole was just coming popular. So
Okay.
the idea that someone would pay me to come in to help them kind of get order and mix decor in a system and all of that, to me it seemed natural, but I couldn't imagine someone hiring me to come in
Yes.
to do that.
Yeah.
And then, coincidentally, we were at a dinner that weekend, and we were with a group of my friends, all of whom have their own, one's a designer and all these different entrepreneurs. And Todd said, hey guys, help me convince Leslie to start this business. And they were just so supportive. This is what you need to do. I'm like, I don't, guys, I just put my resume together.
Yeah.
And so we had a beautiful dinner. We go to sleep. One of my friends who was at that dinner sends me text the next morning. They had just built this beautiful home that they spent, years with architects, designers building it. And they were faced in the same situation so many of our peers have. They've spent so much time planning and now the boxes have arrived.
Mm.
And she's sending me texts and she's like, is this normal that I still have my college ID from when I was studying nursing? She's sending me pictures like, I honestly need you to help me. I've got boxes. I want to keep my beautiful space
Mhm.
still beautiful, but right now I'm so overwhelmed with where things should go. I want it to look clean and
Yeah.
beautiful, and I really just need you to come and help. Like, help
Yeah.
me. I'm buried. And I said, okay, I have no business plan. Like, this is really the cart before the horse.
Uh-huh.
And I said, but if you'll be willing for me to come in and you're my guinea pig because I've never done this before. And, we'll come up with like a super low fee because I thought of it as like, this is my master's degree, like
Yes.
firsthand, hands
Yeah.
on. And so that's how it started.
Oh
And we
my God.
finished. And I didn't have a name.
Okay.
And I turned to, at the time, Brooke was young. And we came up with all your ducks in a row because I would always say we need to get our ducks in a row.
Uh-huh.
And my, sweet and so thoughtful friend, I mean, really, I, it was such a gift that they trusted me and that they believed in something that I didn't see in myself. And they were like,
Mhm.
we believe you can do this.
Mhm.
And, I learned so much, and I just really just applied what I naturally knew what to do.
Yes.
And by jumping in and just diving off the diving board, it allowed me to like write down, okay, this is a system that will work. And what I learned from my approach
Mhm.
in doing this, in being trusted to come into someone's personal space and go through, I learned that I wanted to come up with a solution that allowed my client to know a strategy so that they could then continue to manage this on their own, and that they can help their families also maintain this.
So
Because
smart.
I didn't want to be the person who's being called back every month to refresh. I really wanted, I call them my modern day super women, to
Mhm.
be able to feel like I now have the skill to do this myself.
Yep.
And through that, and doing that procedure, I started then realizing, oh my goodness, like I would open up the beautiful entertaining pieces that my friends had received as wedding gifts that were still in boxes with the card inside. It would be like a beautiful silver platter. I'm like, no, what is this hiding in this pantry? You could use this on your entry with a
Mhm.
beautiful floral vase, or the next time you entertain, even if it's a pool party, use it this way. And I started realizing that there was a big connection with those people who saw the advantage of relying on a professional to help them with their
Uh-huh.
life,
Yeah.
and that they also loved entertaining, and they had, either inherited family heirlooms, or have, they've appreciation for linens and plates and silverware, and that they were kind of turning to me like, well, how would you use this?
Yeah.
Like, we use this for the holidays. I'm like, oh my goodness, you could use this every day. Like, why is this hiding? You can use, you could mix it with high and low. And what if you tried this? And it just naturally started to form that my little plan of just staying active and following a passion for myself.
Mhm.
Really, I mean, when we talk about pivot, it, I have really
You
been.
rode the wave.
Exactly. And so that what it did for me is I started with coming in, creating a stress-free environment by removing clutter but adding beautiful pieces. And my number one goal, not only for my clients
Mhm.
to be able to do this themselves after I left, was also really shopping within their own home
Mhm.
and reusing pieces that they already had, but coming up with creative ways of using them, whether it be
Yeah.
a beautiful silver ice bucket that we're now using, maybe to store, when you walk into the back door, maybe that's where you put, your catch all for your mail. Like,
Yes.
simple ways of, let's use what you have, let's
Mhm.
dust off what you inherited from your grandmother, and let's give new life to it.
Mhm.
And
So it sounds like, you not only talk about your business wasn't just organizing, it also was a bit of styling, right? And
absolutely.
using what you have, but then giving your customers the ability to do this. Once you leave the door, you gave them the tools to continue it. I'm curious, with the journey then, where did your blog and like influencing Instagram page come into play? Was that sort of a marketing technique or more of like another creative outlet?
So I was so fortunate that I really have these brilliant friends,
Hmm.
who were so gracious with time to, give me great advice. And one of my best friends who was coined me tidy, at the time, she's living in San Francisco. She had an elevated paper party company called Geese and Gander. And um, she had this amazing marketing team. Because she's in the Bay Area, she was invited to, all the social medias, and really was the one who said, you could be an influencer
Mm.
with what you're doing. And I'm like, what's an influencer? And she really spent time explaining what you need to do is have an Instagram page, and you need to be sharing what you're doing and create content.
Mhm.
And, for me, I was like, what does that mean? But I learned a lot from her and then other peers and friends. I really used any expert that wanted to share knowledge as my opportunity to absorb information.
Mhm.
And they helped guide me, like, what, this would be a really good event for you to go to. And I really, to this day, I look at other experts in the field to really vet out, what's a what should my time and money be invested in, and
Mhm.
what advice should I, what should I avoid. And now I pay it forward. I try to, when I see new entrepreneurs, because I was so fortunate that I had knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
And so, Bo, who owned Geese and Gander,
Uh-huh.
she would send me these beautiful paper products, and they were so beautiful. They were intended for children's birthday parties. And the Geese and Gander method was, she wanted to remove the gender, kind of pink is for girls and blue is for boys, and
Uh-huh.
have really cool, her daughter was in STEM, so like really cool designs. And when I started seeing them, I could see, oh my goodness, I could use this in my own home for an adult. And this is before really I knew about these other great elevated paper entertaining companies that I've had the pleasure of collaborating with, because this was, before that time.
Yep.
And I really started just capturing my lifestyle
Mhm.
and what I was doing and sharing, but I wanted it to be in a pretty way, and not just so, gritty. I really wanted, like, this is how, like, this is my high and low, but this is the complete project,
Yeah.
and this is the product that I used. And I started doing that and sharing on Instagram,
Mhm.
and I kind of created a blog, but it really wasn't my main focus. I
Mhm.
found with my experience, social media, live, and video, that was really what my audience wanted more of, like the instant, like, show me how you styled that table using
Yes.
those paper products. And so I was doing that, but also working with clients. And
Yeah.
so I would capture the before and the afters. And,
Mhm.
we're using glass vase. Oh, previously, glass floral vases, and now it's storage for Q-tips. Everything was just like a creative way to create beautiful every day. And what really helped me is that one of my clients, who's now a dear friend of mine, hired me to help her style or organize a space. And she's an Emmy award winning writer. She's a television host. She's a top book author, and she just kind of was like, "Who are you?" I show up in my white jeans and crappy outfit and get dirty, and she just thought I was crazy, crazy.
Yeah.
And she, at the time, was on a nationally syndicated television show called The List, and
Okay.
she hired me for several projects. And one day I received a phone call from her producer, and she asked me to be on their television show
Oh, wow.
to style, to show how to organize a pantry and all the
Mhm.
rules. And um, this was just before, this is my 40s. And I'm like, I have no experience. This is an old dog learning new tricks. Even though I studied it, I never did this when I was younger.
Yeah.
And um, and she's like, it's going to be good. Teresa's going to be your host. You guys are friends. When you're talking with the friend, it's so reassuring. And that just kind of started my experience in working on TV and
Okay.
understanding more of the power of more kind of video and communication
Mm-hmm.
for my social media. And in it, so the value and the reason why I thought of it as such an amazing opportunity is that, like, I understood then, okay, this is what audiences are looking for. Like, this
Yeah.
is how we're going to capture. They want to know what product I'm using, like what label maker, and why did you choose that? And
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot from the perspective of television, really what the end user wants in some of the detail while still being able to maintain my own personal style and interest. And that just kind of carried my new journey of being involved in media
Yeah.
as a lifestyle expert and allow me opportunities to be on television. And every topic I could share to this community on
Mm-hmm.
TV, but it also fit into my content of what I do as a content creator and collaborator. So
Mm-hmm.
to me, it was like, oh my goodness, like it's allowing me to style something here and then put it over here, and I can explain in greater detail how I did that. Um,
That's so smart. And I think, I never really thought about that with TV. A good a point or lesson from there is normally those TV segments are really short. Like you have to be so concise. And that's a good skill to take over sometimes to social media is like just getting down to the who, what, when, where, and why essentially of
exactly.
something and delivering it because people get, bored and scroll so quickly. Um, I think that's so fascinating and also just a great marketing move for you. I'm curious, what has been the biggest pinch me moment for you?
It's so funny. I was thinking about this as I was
Yeah.
preparing, and I'm known for my timeless style, blue and white, and Chanel chic. So, for those of you out there that may not have visited my Instagram page, you'll see that I have a lot of ginger jars, food
Mhm.
dogs. Like, that's just something I'm so passionate about. And living in Dallas, there's a company that was based in Dallas called Wisteria Home Decor, which I spent countless time there. And I think like this ginger jar is actually from a purchase when we
Oh,
lived in
wow.
Dallas. And because of social media, they were my first decor business that reached out to me. They were relaunching their blue and white ginger jars,
Okay.
and they asked if I would be their person to create and style in my own home with their new collection. And I was allowed to pick, I want to say 10 pieces.
Wow.
It opening those boxes, I mean, for someone who collects them and then
Mhm.
getting this opportunity was like completely a pinch me. And I felt, very honored, but also the responsibility of like, this is a very big thing that we're doing.
Opportunity. Yeah.
And that was like the first for my approach with when I collaborate
Hmm.
with brands like that. I have I create a vision board. I have a whole like project plan. I have a photographer. There's a whole behind the scenes of mood boards, and to see all of my ideas then throughout the house and the day of the photographer, and it was like my first opportunity to really be so proud of that collaboration that I just earned completely on my own, but from the power of social media. They
Yeah.
found me, and I just couldn't believe it. And I was in several campaigns, which was amazing. And that's when I started to learn about the collaboration
Mm.
and how I wanted to partner with businesses. And you know this personally,
Yeah.
but I really, once I had that opportunity, I continued to create content, and my immediate go-to was always using brands that I personally purchase myself, that I use. It was
Mhm.
important to me that I've always been authentic and true to myself and to my community. And
Yeah,
I wanted my community to feel that they know that if Leslie is using it, she would
stands
is
by
really
it.
using this.
Yes.
And it also allows me to really understand, like, how could I use this in different ways? I felt like if I want to continue to be a true collaboration partner with these amazing brands going forward, I need to understand like how I would use it in more than just one way.
Yeah. And I think, what you're so good about with collaborations is you're a true partner for the brands or whoever you're collaborating with. Like a lot of times you'll email me for some of my clients and you come to me with some ideas of how you could display something or portray something to your audience and style something and how that helps the brand. So I think that's so helpful as someone who's on the other side of it many times. So for brands listening, I think, Leslie's so good at that. And I can say every influencer is. So I want to real quick, because I know we're getting close to time and we have to do some holiday questions. Uh, can you talk a little bit about your little doggy space? I feel like that's what a lot of people know you from. And one of the things I think about with you is your sweet dogs, because I'm a dog person myself. So tell me a little bit about that space. So I'll let you explain it.
Okay. So for those of you that are new to Leslie Lehr Living, my husband and I, we made the decision to downsize a few years ago. And it was kind of like it made sense. And part of my value of what I really like to do is I'm like, let's do it and see how we can make the most of a smaller home. We were used to, extra space. And so it allowed me to really get creative. And it was one of the best decisions that we made. So, for example, we're in my den, and this was a walk in closet that now serves as my office that we wallpapered. Uh,
Oh,
this was my first taking something that was ordinary and making it into extraordinary, an unused space, and giving it multi-purpose. And so we have a staircase that's under, a closet that was under the staircase.
mhm.
In our former home, we had a large laundry room space. I'm sure everyone can relate. And
Yeah.
that's usually where your pets have their water bowls and their little area. And when you make a change to shift size, that was something we lost. And so I had just an idea like it's that slanted, awkward
Mhm.
space. And I thought, let's make it elevated. It's off of the great room, wallpaper, decorative details that are a reflection of the great room. And there won't be a door. We have a gate, and this is going to be our doggy den.
I love it.
So, one thing that I highly recommend for all of my creatives out there is I'm a huge proponent of working with other entrepreneurs and creatives, and I think we all have our strengths, and sometimes we grow stronger when we work together.
Yeah.
And so, Kaylin, who happened to be a designer on some projects of my clients, she and I realized our value working together. Like she could do more of the strategic, design, and
Designer. Yeah.
I could come in and really do the details. And
Mhm.
so I turned to her and I said, I want a dynamic. I need the wallpaper is going to be the key. So she really helped me narrow it down. And then we added a gilded bookshelf. My dog's bowls are at the bottom. We have some artwork. We have, at the time we had custom beds, but Blue was a puppy and that custom bed lasted 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was pure pleasure for me.
Yeah.
But one of my dear friends was over for cocktails, and she was the owner and founder of Front Doors Media, which is a publication for charity, but they also do every year a special issue about dogs. And she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I have wallpaper coming in soon. We're gonna do this." She's like, "When will it be done?" I said, "Well, it's going to be done in like a week. And she said, if it can be done in a week, I would love to have it featured in our doggy edition. And so we got it, Caitlin and I worked so hard to get it completed. And it was so fun because it was featured in it's called the Doggy Den. And it's brought, so it's function. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what my whole business is about, style and function. So was taking something that was not really giving value for our family's needs. And now it is used every day. I get the dog treat. They know to run into their space. I put the gate. They're in a safe place. It's
Yeah.
their little, zone. And then for Leslie, it's stylish and a pop of personality. And
Yeah.
so it's a win-win.
It's beautiful. For people listening or watching this right now, you have to go on Leslie's Instagram and look this up. It makes me happy looking at it. So, since this is the Preppy podcast, how would you describe Preppy? I'm going to ask this, and I feel like you're going to have a great answer.
So for me, preppy is a lifestyle. It's how the activities you're interested in. It is tradition. It
Mhm.
is really, when I look back at that preppy handbook, one thing that they always talked about and why Oxfords and polo shirts have stayed the course is that there was a lot of that repurposing and reusing and hand-me-downs in the preppy handbook.
Yeah.
Like I remember there's one image of, school uniforms and the daughters wearing the older son's Oxford for his uniform. And when you think of it, like that is part of that preppy of, okay, we're going to buy a polo and we're going to reuse it in so many different ways and layers. And that's going to be with us for years. And that style is consistent. So
Yeah.
I feel like there's that part of tradition and honoring a kind of look, but it's also everyday good graces. It is
Mhm.
your interests. I feel like hobbies and interests are a big piece of the preppy lifestyle,
Yes.
whether it be in
A dollhouse.
a dollhouse, or for those of you who've heard about Camp Preppy, it was an adult camp based on all these interesting hobbies that I think is a part of preppy life, whether it be mahjong and needlepoint,
Mhm.
or more of the athletic tennis, golf, skiing, that is a part of like some activity to keep
Yes.
us consistent and setting goals. I think that's a big part of the preppy life.
I love
Entertaining.
that. Yes. I love setting goals and everyday graces that you mentioned. That's a perfect answer, Leslie. So since it's the holiday season, we have some holiday questions for you. And the first being, what's your favorite holiday tradition?
Okay, so I have two. One is, I love when you open up we have airtight containers, and we open
Mhm.
up those containers with all the ornaments. It
Yeah.
is our family's one of their favorites because every ornament has a story. Some
Yeah.
are handed down. Like I can still remember when I open up our ornaments, and I know my uncle gave me this,
Yeah.
and this was like Brooke's first baby, silver rattle that we now have as an ornament. And so I love being able to see that. Those stories and cherish that with my family.
Hmm.
As a former organizer, it's also a great opportunity to tackle more than one goal at a time. So as you're unpacking ornaments and your decor, it's also the great time to start putting a group together of what's broken, what
Mm.
needs to be retired,
Yep.
maybe what could serve as a
Someone else.
wonderful donation.
Yes.
Exactly. And then, and Patricia knows this, but as the Leslie Vincent family, my dad has a vintage Wagoneer, and so every year, that's what's driven with the reef on the front of the car to go
Yep.
pick up the live Christmas tree. And if we're not there, my family with my parents, they still make a big production. They take the photos. We feel like we're there with them. And when we leave to see them in Atlanta this year, we get to really enjoy the tree, but still feel like we're a part of that.
Yes, I am so jealous of that Wagoneer. Like it is a camp preppy, like looks like it's right out of the logo, and I'm just so obsessed. What's one thing on your wish list?
Okay, so coffee table books are one of my favorite gifts to give and to receive.
Mhm.
I love beautiful coffee table books. I use them for decor.
Yep.
I really pour over those books. And I think it's a really thoughtful gift to give because when I'm picking out a coffee table book, I'm really using the interest of that recipient.
Yes.
And so, like last year, my husband bought me the Ralph Lauren, the brand new edition of the Ralph
Yes.
Lauren, and it just meant so much because he knew like I would just be obsessed.
Yeah.
This year, Après Ski
Yeah.
is on. I'm so excited. I heard your podcast. It is on. I have you want to. I mean, I actually have my
Oh,
list.
the
On my
notepad from Camp Preppy.
It's on the top of my list because as I've skied my whole life, my
Yes.
daughters, our whole family, and as we got older, I mean, my friends and I, we may enjoy a ski more than the actual mountains themselves, but it's a part of the preppy lifestyle, and
Yeah.
it's on my list to give to several important people in my life.
That's the perfect gift to give or to receive. What's a tip for elevating your table or home for the holidays? Like, what's one tip people can leave with?
Before you go shopping, look for natural elements that you might have inside your home or out that
Mhm.
you can use, whether it be left cutting some of your Christmas tree branches and using those pines and the fir as a tablescape. If it's, we live in Phoenix, so citrus is plentiful right now.
Mhm.
I love using natural pieces. I just posted how I make uh, some DIY home holiday decor with
Mhm.
oranges. That to me is one of the best ways to not only celebrate the season organically, but also elevate the senses. You really can smell, that holiday spirit
Yes.
when you use those pieces. And then my next is, again, before you go shopping, look inside your home. You have gorgeous pieces that you can slightly adapt to make it more holiday
Mhm.
with a subtle candy cane, but don't be afraid to use white linen with a pop of blue or green or pink
Mhm.
and incorporate that in your holiday decor and not have to, go buy and invest in other pieces immediately, but really take time to use what you have, mix high and low, be a little
Mhm.
creative.
That's great advice. What about a tip for being a gracious and welcoming host? If you're having people over, if you're having friends or family over, a tip for that.
My motto is an organized host is a happy host.
Mm. Mm.
So put a list together, be prepared in advance, have buffet, make it easy so
Yes.
that you're really enjoying your guest company and that you're present for them. If
Yes.
you're calm and cool and organized, that's going to raise the spirit of
Mhm.
the party. And to me, that's what I love the most. I
Mhm.
want that time that my friends that are coming over have given us during a busy time and actually spend time with them. So I make sure that we're well prepared and I focus on what I really love doing. And if I need to use a resource for baked goods and maybe a charcuterie board, I'd rather invest in that so I could have that time with my guests.
Okay, and my final question is where can people follow you so that they can support you, see everything you're doing, let them know social media handles and website?
Okay, please follow me at Leslie Lehr Living on Instagram and TikTok. I also have a YouTube channel and a website at leslielehrliving.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Leslie. You know, I always enjoy talking with you.
Thank you so much. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to the Preppy Podcast. I hope this put a little prep in your step for the day. Please subscribe, rate, and review on wherever you listen to your podcast, and follow along with @the Preppy Podcast on social media.